In the last month of your wedding planning, you're going to have a lot on your mind, and I'm going to break down the things that you need to be thinking about when you get to this point. Ciao, I'm Lucy. I'm an Italian wedding planner and I'm the founder of Lista.com, the website that is there to support you if you're planning your Italian wedding. And I'm here each week on YouTube with episodes to help make sure that you have a calm and confident experience when you're planning your Italian wedding. So in this last month of planning, you've got to this point, you've planned your Italian wedding and it's all downhill from here, but you are still going to have some admin to do. You're going to have to get yourself organised and ready to get over to Italy, and you're probably going to have quite a few guest queries too. This is the moment that guests really focus in on your wedding if they haven't before. We all know that there's some guests that will have planned things a year before and there's some guests that will have waited to this point. This is the moment where everybody focuses in. They read your wedding website, they really start to understand where they're actually going and what they're going to be doing over the few days of your wedding. So I always say to plan in communication to your guests at this point to make sure that they have read everything and that they've got all of the final details and they can be reminded of those. So you could recap perhaps the 3 different events that you're having. If you're having a welcome, a wedding and a post-wedding, you could recap any other things that you want to make sure that they know, the food that they're going to have provided, how far the local town is, where the supermarkets are, how to book transfers so that they're not leaning on you to do so. And finally, things like bus schedules for the actual wedding events themselves, exactly what time they're going to pick up from the different locations that your guests might be staying at. This is something that you could even draft well before this wedding month, just so that when you get to it, it's really easy to complete and do, because as I say, you're going to be quite busy this month, so it would be quite nice to not have too much to think about. The rest of my tick list is all about getting yourselves organised. Now, I'm a really organised person, so some of this advice will not suit everybody, but this is coming from the perspective of a planner, but I also plan my own wedding in Italy, so I know exactly what it's like when you get to this last month. And I learned the hard way with some of the things I did and didn't do at this point. One of the most important things to do is get your payments organised. So hopefully you've got a really nice budget and you know where you are with all of your payments. And as part of briefing your suppliers leading up to your wedding, hopefully you or your planner will have got in touch with them, told them everything they need to know for the wedding and asked them what the final balance is, just to make sure that that correlates with what you've got. And then when you've got that final balance, you can pay it. It's not always required that you pay everyone a month before your wedding, but I always suggest that we do that so that everything is clear and that you've just got that final month without really thinking about banking and things like that. You just know everyone's paid, everything is done. Now, it doesn't always work like that in Italy because things can be a little bit slower. So what you should aim for is to have the bulk of your suppliers paid, and then the rest you can kind of follow up with if that's not quite going to plan. What I really don't want for you is to be at the welcome event, for example, trying to organise bank transfers. Even on the wedding day, sometimes people are organising bank transfers. You should absolutely not be thinking about that. You should be in your wedding. As soon as you get to Italy, it should be about relaxing and then spending time with your guests, not doing webin. Now, there's a chance that at this last month point, some of your guests are going to drop out or their plans are going to change slightly. So something that commonly happens is Airbnbs cancel on guests, or they haven't already got the address from the Airbnb because you only get that in the last few weeks. So you might just have these little bits of admin happening where addresses are changing, so you're having to update transport lists or bus companies, or your table plan is changing because your guests aren't coming anymore, or someone falls ill, someone has a baby. All of these little things can mean that those last couple of weeks you are still changing your table plan. And even with the best intentions and trying to get this all super clear in advance, it almost happens at probably every single wedding. And finally, admin-wise, you may have some suppliers to chase. So if you're planning your own wedding and you've been briefing suppliers or you've been sending them the information for your wedding or you need a couple of answers from them, it can be quite hard to get this information, especially when you're in the depths of wedding season when suppliers are at their weddings. So just expect that you'll have a few different conversations to tie up in this last month too. And that's completely normal. So let's get on to the fun stuff. I love a packing pile. Start a packing pile, and you can start this months before your wedding. Just have a space where you can put all of the things that you're going to need for your wedding, so you can slowly start to clear your mind as you put them in that spot. I'd give yourself a deadline on shopping, so you don't want to be there like the day before you fly to Italy, going and rushing to get something from the shops. Try and have a really clear idea of what you're going to pack, what you're going to buy, and get that all sorted weeks before you travel. That gives you time to have it delivered, it gives you time to try it on, send it back if you don't actually want the things that you've ordered. And please, please, please do not fall into the trap of wasting your money on things in that last moment. So when adrenaline hits, I see people go and buy a load of like stuff that they don't actually need for their wedding. And actually it's a huge waste of money. So they might have made a decision earlier on in planning where they couldn't have something that they really wanted, or they had to pare something back because they didn't want to spend the money. But then in the last moment, they're out spending hundreds of pounds on like a favour or something that they hadn't really considered for their wedding that they don't really need just because of that adrenaline. So try and be really strict with yourself with your shopping list and only get the quality things that you know that you need. Make sure that your beauty appointments are booked. So that last week before you travel, if you're having anything done, like your hair done, fake tan, nails, get that all booked in months in advance so you know that you've got that time set aside to go and get yourself ready before you head over to Italy. Obviously it is possible to have all of these treatments in Italy, but I find that when you arrive, you don't want to have too much to do, and it may seem like you want to kind of go and get pampered and things, but actually, because everything's quite far away in Italy, simply going for a nail appointment that takes an hour or an hour and a half, actually with the travel, can take a whole half a day when you might actually just want to be hanging out with the people that are around, or even your future husband. Just a word of advice, do not overcommit yourself in this month. I think it can be a month where everyone's really excited for you, especially people that aren't coming to the wedding. They may want to celebrate your wedding and have like mini celebrations, but actually save that for after the wedding. This month is all about prepping and getting ready and hopefully calm, ready to go over. If you've got too many things to do and it's using up your time on your weekends when you need to be kind of getting yourselves organised, doing the shopping, doing the packing, then it can actually be quite stressful. This last month is all about protecting your mental health, kind of exercising a lot, eating well, sleeping really, really well, because it is really quite draining having an Italian wedding, something that no one really talks about. It is obviously the most incredible experience, but it is really, really tiring being around lots of people and having all of those events going on. So looking after yourself and going into the wedding the best you can feel would be my top priority if I was in my last month of my wedding planning. And if you've got a wedding planner, then this is definitely the time that you're going to be talking to them a lot. In this last month, I find with my couples, I'm talking to them almost every day. They've got little updates, they've got things that are happening with their weddings. We've got little updates to tell them. Like, there's quite a lot going on. So making sure that you've got a call booked in. We have a call the month out from the wedding with all our couples just to kind of catch anything that's been happening, any small things that are changing, so that they're not left on their own, basically. So if you've got a planner and that's not in the plan, or you don't know when you're going to talk to them again, definitely try and encourage them to book that 1 month out, because you will have some questions that come up that you haven't thought about before, and you'll just know that you've got that safe space to ask them. So all of the practical things that I've mentioned in this video are in the Ultimate Tracker, which is an amazing spreadsheet that's on Lista.com. It's not only got the full list of every single thing that you need to do when you're planning an Italian wedding, it's also got loads of other tabs and spreadsheets that help you plan really easily. And in my membership, the club, I've got loads of other tools that will also help you, and a much longer version of this episode. Remember that I'm here every single week with a new episode, and if you're planning your Italian wedding, you will not want to miss it, so subscribe below. I'll see you next time.